So welcome everyone who is calling in for this Warrior Goddess Wisdom series. My name is HeatherAsh Amara, and I am so happy to have this community coming together. This has been a dream of mine for a very long time, is to create a place for women to come together to heal. And tonight we're going to be talking about initiation ceremonies and healing and how to begin to reclaim the energy from our past so that we can have it available for us in the present. We have women from all over the world that are part of this call. There's over 700 women that are signed up for the webcast and for the 13-part series that we're doing that starts tomorrow. So that 13-part series, I've been interviewing 13 of my dearest blessed sisters, really incredible women. And I've been asking them the same 4 questions. And the interviews are all completely different. And so starting tomorrow, I'll be posting 1 video a week. And so that will come right into your inbox. That's nothing that you need to do, but just receive that information coming in. And it'll give us all the opportunity to taste the difference is in different women. That as women, we all have different flavors, different energies that we're bringing forward. And that's really important for us to honor each of our different expressions as feminine, as warrior goddesses. So on this webcast, I'm going to be talking about what is a warrior goddess and what does it mean to really deeply heal ourselves. How do we go back into the past and look at things that happened that might have been painful or challenging in our history? Places that we lose energy when we look back. And I think of these places as sinkholes, that when we look back in our past, that there's experiences that we had, and there's some experiences that were very challenging, that were more wounding and not supportive of helping us to become the women that we wanted to be. But the truth is, even each of those places, each of those sinkholes, each of those places where our energy was drained, whether it was from moving as a child, whether it was from a divorce in the family, someone dying, sexual abuse, whatever it was, the trauma, for us to realize that helped to create who we are now. It gave us the strength and the perspective that we have now, and that we can heal the trauma or the dis-ease or the places where we disconnected from ourselves and just take what we learned, just take the gift out of the whatever the circumstance was. I really, really believe that as women, we have the capacity to heal our past by being very present in today. And from this place of witness, to look back without blame, without judgment, and to bring our life force back into the present, to reconnect ourselves, to find our wholeness again. I'm going to share a little bit about myself so that you have some context about where this webcast is coming from. I was really blessed to be raised in Asia and to travel all over the world when I was a kid. We moved every 2 or so years. We went around the world every year. And the story that I used to tell about myself went like this. I was raised in Asia. We moved all the time. And whenever we'd move, I'd be the new kid on the block. I'd be shy. I'd feel really gawky and awkward. And I didn't know how to connect to people. And then about a year in, 2 years in, I'd start to make friends. I'd start to become more social. I started to feel more like myself. I started to be excited about where we were and really connect to the people and to the land. And then we'd move. And the whole cycle would start again. And that was really challenging because I never really got to connect to people. And it felt like when I came to the States to go to college that I felt disconnected from myself. I felt disconnected from others. So, question. How does that story make you feel? I know whenever I told that story, I felt, hi Len, whenever I told that story, I felt victim-y. I felt sad. I felt poor me. I felt I have all these places of trauma, of upset, of hurt in my childhood, of moving so often, and it's scarred me. And I realized one day, I'd been studying with Don Miguel Ruiz, really amazing human that wrote the Four Agreements, been working with him for about 3 or 4 years. And one day I realized every time I tell that story, I feel drained. Every time I tell that story, I'm looking at my history and looking at the difficulties and seeing these sinkholes of hurt. And I thought, well, what else could I tell? What other story could I tell? And what I realized was that I could change the story. So I made a choice. And I started telling the story this way. I was raised in Asia. We moved all the time when I was a child. And I was really blessed to get to see all different sorts of cultures and different experiences, different people, see so many different perspectives. I was so enriched by that. And I really learned through all the travel that humans are very different, very creative, really wonderful in their expressions of humanity. And I learned how to make friends quickly. And even though there were challenges in leaving, there was always something new that I was being exposed to. And I'm incredibly grateful for all the gifts of having been able to travel so much when I was a child. So then, how does that story make you feel? I know whenever I told that story, I felt more in myself, more excited about my life, more present in this moment. And I would look back at my life and really see, wow, so many gifts. There's so many gifts in my life. Which story is true? And the truth is, neither of them are true, and both of them are true. We are all storytellers. And that's part of what we do. And that's part of the joy of being human, is that we get to tell our story. But when we're telling a story that drains our energy, where we're casting ourselves as the victim or when we're blaming others, we lose energy every time we tell the story. And the second time I told the story, I love that someone said empowered. The second time I told the story, I get to share what piece of the story makes me feel empowered, makes me feel whole, to really feel it. So healing ourselves, healing the past, reclaiming our energy from the past isn't about glossing over and making a fake story of, yeah, my life was great. It was really wonderful. It was all fine. Because that doesn't work either. That doesn't serve us at all. Because the old story is still there in our being. We're just pushing it down. What we want to do is completely rewire ourselves. And in that rewiring, change our history. And we have that capacity. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to begin to rewire our past. And a piece of this is around creating initiation for ourselves. In all cultures around the world, there's different initiation ceremonies, specifically for when the I shouldn't say young children, the about 8, 9, 10-year-old children start to go into puberty. So it's any time between, let's say 10 and 13, and usually 13. I started young, but it's usually around 13, where there's an initiation ceremony of helping the child go from young adult to adult, and helping the community to see that child as an adult rather than as a child. So it's not just for the child, it's for the community as well. And those initiation ceremonies were very powerful, very important for us as humans. And they're done in all different tribal societies. And that's something that we've really lost, is that place of initiating ourselves into the next stage of our life. from childhood to adulthood, from adulthood to what we can call motherhood. And I don't think about that as biological mother, but as what are we birthing as women? So that might be children, that might be projects, that might be businesses, that might be books. There's a lot of things that we birth. That's our creative, really fertile period. And then there's initiating ourselves into crone as we start to become older and wiser, and that we're beginning to then get a bigger perspective on life. Instead of being focused on the one thing that we're birthing and putting our energy into that, all of our energy into that one thing, we begin to open up to the larger community, to the larger world. So these are all different stages of life. In some traditions we call them maiden, mother, and crone. Each has a different initiatory phase that we go through, that we step through in order to reclaim ourselves. So I just want to take a moment and say hello to some of the folks that are joining us. Anag from Mexico, Tuana from Austin, and Skylar. And then for anybody that's having a problem with the video, if you've refreshed and it's still not working for any reason, one thing you might want to do is just scroll up. There's a document at the very top. Just click on that because it'll give you information around what you might need to do to help your computer. So we're broadcasting live. This is pretty amazing. I'm sitting in Austin in front of a computer, and that's going someplace on the planet and then being bounced back to your computer. How cool is that? And it's not just being bounced back to your computer, it's being bounced back to computers all over the world, this little broadcast. And so your computer needs to have a lot of bandwidth in order to receive. So if you're having any difficulty at all, what you can do is make sure you shut down every other program that you might have running so that you clean off and give your computer as much space in order to receive the broadcast. Okay. So back to our Cass from Minnesota. Yay! And Sue from Bastrop. And hey, Sarah, Rose, and Coral. Thank you. They're my cheering squad. Thanks, sweeties. San Antonio. Hello. Welcome, San Antonio. Beautiful. Great. So, here's a question. I'd like you to look back at your story, how you perceive your history. We can say our herstory, but to look back at where were some of the transitions, the major transitions in your life. What transitions were there in your life? And one that we can start with, so I'm going to direct us first and then we'll open it up. One is when you first started menstruating. So for women, that's one thing that all of us had the experience of starting our menstrual cycle. And just take a moment to touch into what was your experience of that initiation, because that's a body initiation. That means your body has changed and that you've become a woman. How was that received? How did you receive it? How was it received around you? Was it acknowledged? Was it honored? Were you shamed for it? Were you ashamed of it? So just notice that initiation that as women we all go through. And how is it received? And how did you receive it? Now just explore. When we go back like this, we're not going back in blame. We're simply going back and witness to go, okay, what was my experience? So great, ashamed, felt unclean. Great, what else? There's been a whole gamut of experience for women. Some women feel like they were really honored and they were excited to get their period. And many women felt shamed, felt they didn't know how to deal with it. All the older women in my life congratulated me, excellent. My mother was ashamed of me and I took that on, yeah. Beautiful. And then you did a retroactive menarche ritual with a group of women when I was 40. Yay. Marlena felt strong and womanly. Yeah, good. Excited because my mom and I were going to start mother-daughter dates. Oh, I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one to keep in mind. Mother-daughter dates. Good. So a whole gamut of experience of that initiation. Anyone else? Very matter of fact, no emotional connection with my mom. Okay, so it was just another day, and there wasn't a connection with mom. Anyone else? Let's do a couple more shares, and then we'll explore that transition and how we can claim that transition and all the other transitions that we went through growing up as women. So any other shares? What was your experience? Or how were you received? Yeah, great. Stress over dealing with it at school. Yeah. So not knowing how to or figuring out just the logistics. I was the youngest in my class. It was embarrassing. Okay. It wasn't to be talked about. Yeah. So it's something that you had to deal with on your own. So this is a great place to start for us as women because we all had this experience, and it's a great marker that we can use. So shown by a friend when she had hers, I was curious and looking forward to your own. Good. Thought, darn, it's going to interfere with sports. Yeah, and receive some negative. Oh, now you can get pregnant. Yeah. I know someone that when she started her period, her mom was furious at her, got angry at her because she said, now you can get pregnant, as if she had done something to cause this. So stepping into menstruation is an initiation. And in many cultures, it's something that's honored. And it's something that we can bring back honoring now. So regardless of what your experience was, it doesn't matter. We can honor it in this moment. And when we honor it in this moment, it changes the past. I want to share a ritual possibility. And a ritual is something that marks times of change in our life. Rituals or ceremonies honor that we're shifting from one place to another. We're shifting between one state to another state. So each of us, when we make a transition, whatever that transition is, if we bring in ritual to honor that transition, it makes the transition easier. And what I really love about ritual is that it's not mental. It's a body experience. So here's an example. And Robin just wrote, looked upon as negative experience and mostly ignored. Yeah, around first menstruation. And welcome to Lisa from San Marcos. Glad you're with us. So imagine this scenario where you're in a family where you have your first menstrual cycle and your whole community goes to the beach. So your family, the people that are part of your larger community go to the beach, and you and your mother have your wrists tied together with a red string. This was a ritual that a young woman's community put on for her. So they lightly bound the hands of the young woman who had just started menstruating with her mother with a red cord. And then they sent them running down the beach. And they both ran as far as they could. And when the mother couldn't run any longer, they stopped, they cut the cord, and then they told the daughter, keep going, keep running as far as you can. Then they brought her back, and all the men had cooked food. And the men then fed the women, and everybody then celebrated this woman's first menstruation. Gorgeous. And what's so beautiful about this is they may have also sat her down and said, you are going to go beyond your mother. But there's something really different. There's something visceral in the body of letting mother and daughter run, then cutting the cord and saying, go, keep going. The daughter got in her body, my mother wants me to go beyond her. My mother wants me to be my own woman. My mother wants me to claim my power. She got that in her body. And then she also got, I am received as a woman by my community. I am seen. I am held, I am nourished. In her body, as an experience, not a concept. So when we're doing any sort of work with ritual and with initiatory experiences, we're going for the feeling sense of that ritual or that experience, what we feel in our body, not the thought. Great. And Lori's just writing, had a lovely coming of age ritual for her niece at 16, not at the onset of menstruation. Beautiful. And it doesn't matter the time that we mark. It's about how we mark it and what would serve us. So there's many different transitions that we create that we have in our lives. And especially as children, as young adults, where there's divorce, where we move, where somebody dies, where there's some big change, just going from junior high to high school, big change. What can we do in the present to bring our care, our love, our wisdom that we have now into the past to help us rewrite the past, to help us to heal the energy from any old wounding, any old stuck places in our life. And these are the places that we look back and we feel, ouch, we feel a contraction in our body. We feel I wish it was different. We feel a place that we dropped ourselves or that we were dropped. And I call them sinkholes, where our energy drops when we look at them. It falls when we look at those places. That's what we want to begin the process of filling up those holes and reclaiming our energy so it's available in the present. That process is a sorting process really around energy. It's a place that our energy is being held in the past, that's been stuck in the past. And often it's places in our lives where there's fear, where there's hurt, where there's blame, where there's shame. And all of those are around fear. So as we go back and look with new eyes, we go back and look without judgment, without blame, without trying to make it different, that we can then begin to see what would have nourished me at that time. What ceremony or ritual or acknowledgement could have been brought in at that time. And we can come together as women to share our experiences. I love that somebody just shared a poem prayer, that we can inform each other, that we can share what our new vision is for how we can be in the world and how we can heal our past through that choice to rewire and to create our own initiations, to create our own initiations now, to create our own rituals now, as well as to go back into the past and create rituals in the past, in our imagination, that help to heal and fill those sinkholes, that create smoothness. So just like I talked about my own story, that the story that I used to tell was more of a victim story around how difficult my childhood was. And that one day I decided I didn't want to hold that energy in my body, so I made the choice to shift it to a story that felt more empowering to me. Both stories are true. Neither story is true. It's my choice of how I want to language my history. And again, we don't want to try and cover over and just say everything was fine. We're wanting to birth ourselves through the old stories and claim new ones from our choice to be the empowered, beautiful women that we are now. And here's a really, really cool thing. Our unconscious works with feelings. And that part of us can't tell the difference between something that happened and a story, if there's feeling connected to it. What that means is this. If I use my imagination, and our imagination is sacred, our imagination is one of the most powerful things that we have. If I can use my imagination to vision a new possibility, and to feel that new possibility in my body, to really get it in my being, to feel it, to own it, that then becomes my experience. As I put energy into that new story, my mind believes that's what happened. I might know that's not what happened. I mean, I know that growing up moving was hard, and I'm not denying that. But what I'm doing is saying, and there was also some good, there was also beauty. And by feeding that becomes more powerful. And so then when I talk about my history, I feel like a warrior goddess. And what a warrior is, for me, is that place of focus. It's that place of commitment to my path, knowing what my intent is, making choices based on my authenticity, who I want to be in the world. And that goddess energy is my creativity, is my love of life, is my joy, is my exuberance, is my yes. Working together, those two energies are so powerful. And we all express different aspects of warrior goddess. Some of us are more warrior, some of us are more goddess. It's all beautiful. And you'll see in the video interviews that I'll be doing that the women are all very different. And they all express their warrior goddess energy really beautifully. It really comes through in their words, in their focus, in their passion, in their creativity. So going for what's the feeling sense that I want to have? Start with what's your intent. So Skylar just asked a question. It's beautiful that we can change our story. Any thoughts on how to change our story when others try to remind us of our old selves or old stories when we work so hard to focus on the new? Beautiful. It's so true. And I love what Lori said. Try yes and. It does take commitment to holding our new story, especially if we're in a structure, family structure or community that holds us where we were and that wants to see us as who we were rather than who we're stepping into now. Because that's familiar. That's comfortable. And so sometimes there is some tension that's created as we begin to step more into our authenticity, as we start to tell new stories, as we start to live new stories, as we start to initiate ourselves into who we want to become, that people around us can say, oh, wait a minute, but no, you're this, and remind us of our old selves, try and bring us back to our old selves. And they're not doing it maliciously, usually. They're just, that's what's familiar. And so it takes our dedication that we're willing to stay with ourselves. That even when the reflection outside says, we'd like you to be different, or here's who you were before, that we get to find our strength to hold ourselves over and over again. And to find a community. So even if it's hard for some of the folks around you to see you as different, to find a community of beings that do, that see you for who you are now rather than for who you were. That's why I love even a community like this. It's us coming together to see, who are you now? We don't care who you were. Who are you now? And in the stories that are stuck in the past, how can we help you rewrite them so that they bring juice and energy rather than drain. And so we remind ourselves and others over and over again. And we don't take it personally. That's a big piece. We don't take it personally. If we just know they're in another dream, seeing me as an old self, and I'm not there. But they have every right to hold that old story. And eventually, if I keep living my new story, they'll either one day go, oh, okay, got it, you are different. Or they won't. And in a way, it doesn't matter because we're holding ourselves and we're calling in the support we need to help us hold ourselves for who we want to be. So, question. I tell my husband constantly I'm not a little girl. I messed up when I was young, but I'm a woman now and a strong one, and that my old self is no longer relevant. Beautiful. And to say that with love. So when we go into the defense of I'm not a little girl, I'm not saying that you're doing this at all. Yeah, you have to be very sure of your truth, is even if they aren't. Yeah, exactly. And to just say, sweetie, that's the past. Here's what I'm holding now. And to model that. To be that as much as we can. And that's challenging. It can be challenging, but it's a good challenge. That's a warrior goddess challenge. When someone else is holding something that's a reflection, that for us is an old reflection, do we just go, oh, they're right, or I have to fight against, or I have to prove to them that I'm a new person? Or do we just go, oh, that's an interesting thing to hold, but here's who I am, and just be it rather than justify that we're not the old. So that saves a lot of energy when we just say they have every right to see me how they see me. That's their perception. And I choose to hold who I am over and over again, to show up as the new me, to show up in my authenticity, to love and support myself, to find people that love and support me for who I am, not who I was. And to not take it personally, but to just stay steady. Wow, just had an aha. I've been telling an old disempowering story about money, an ancestral story really. Yeah! And we definitely take on old stories, take them on without even realizing, pass them right on by telling the same story. Beautiful. I love ahas. That's exciting. So really claim that. And now, what's the new story? What do you want to start to empower? Where do you want to put energy? So we always start, as warrior goddesses, we always start with what's my intent? What do I want to create for myself now? What's my focus? So let's start there. Everyone close your eyes. Taking a breath into your belly. And feel, oh, I want to do this little meditation with you. This is so good. Yeah, so this is a clearing of 2013 and stepping into 2014. So we'll use this as a way to claim our intent for 2014. So I want you to imagine you're someplace out in nature, someplace that you love, someplace beautiful. And it may be someplace you've been many, many times before. Or maybe just someplace you've seen a picture of that you love. Bring your full self into that imaginary place. Feel your feet against the earth. Smell the air around you. Feel the wind on your skin. Bring all your senses into this place, this imaginary sacred place where you feel really safe, really nourished by the land. And imagine now that you can pick up a basket and turn and face 2013. That you're facing your experiences of 2013. And I'd like you to imagine that you can go back into your past as a witness, go back over 2013 as a witness, as curiosity, and ask yourself, the question is, what are the gifts? What did I learn? What did I gather? What did I integrate? What did I let go of in 2013? What were the gifts of 2013? And to gather those gifts and imagine that you're putting them into the basket. Gathering those gifts of 2013 and bringing it into your basket. You might imagine it as flowers or fruit or just energy that you're bringing into this basket. Keep traveling back through 2013, witnessing, being curious. What happened in 2013? Where are the gifts, the learnings, the insights? Gather them up, bring them into your basket. Good. And now taking that basket, imagining you can take the basket and turn and face 2014. You take this basket in your imagination of all these gifts from 2013 and bring that basket and all those gifts into your heart. Gathering that basket into your heart. Integrating all those gifts, bringing them inside with your gratitude. And then opening up and ask yourself, what's your intent for 2014? What do you want? What do you want to experience, feel, become in 2014? So get a feeling sense and bring this into one word. What's your intent for 2014? What's the word that guides that intent? It can be any word, but let that word resonate in your body, in your feeling, in your knowing. So you're not thinking about that word, you're feeling that word. Bring that feeling sense into your body now. Whatever it is you want to embody for 2014. Bring it in now. What's the word? You might change your word later. What's your word for right now? What is it that you're wanting? What seed do you want to plant for 2014? Good. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, holding the feeling sense of that word, of what your intent is. Good. And you guys are already writing them down. Awesome. Independence, allowing, trust, contentment, opening, freedom, love, powerful love, purpose, love, vibrance, leap, abundance, positivity. Beautiful. Believe, love. Nice. These are great. So anchor in the feeling sense of whatever your word is. And it doesn't even have to make sense to anybody else, but you understand the feeling. You can access the feeling. Peace, joy, light, passion, beautiful. Grounded, playmate. authenticity, settled, sought after. Nice. Great. So now we have an anchor. Can use this anchor to begin to go into the past and say, to create this feeling sense of authenticity, what do I want to heal in the past? Where's the energy to reclaim? And how can I bring ritual to help mark transitions? So transformation, shine, vibrant. In the Toltec teachings, and I'm in a Toltec lineage of my dear friend and mentor, Don Miguel Ruiz, and that lineage is one that the Toltec were a group of people that chose to come together in South and Central Mexico to study perception. And they considered themselves artists of the spirit. They were very curious about how do we as humans create our reality. And so that's one tradition that I'm coming from. And the other tradition, main tradition, is from European shamanism. And European shamanism is around really honoring the cycles of life, really coming into alignment with the flow of life, death, rebirth. And so there's a blending of these two traditions. And in the Toltec teachings, we as humans have energy, that we're energetic beings as well as physical beings. And that if we're not taught how to hold our energy, we tend to leak energy. And this is especially true as women. We're taught to caretake. We're taught to give our energy away. It's sometimes difficult for us as women to allow ourselves to be big in the world, to feel powerful, because we feel like we have to give it away to everybody else. And then we also have experiences in our life where we lose energy. And that energy isn't lost forever. It's just trapped in the past. And so this idea of going back and gathering our energy is about bringing our energy, our life force into the present, so we have access to more energy. When we have access to more energy, we can direct our choices. We have the energy to say yes and say no. We're clear about what our yes and our no is from our center. And we don't need to justify, defend, explain our yes or our no. We just live it. We're open-hearted. That's a yes. And we're open-hearted. No, that doesn't work for me. And we're clear. No, it doesn't work. That's not where I'm going. And we have our hearts wide open. We're present. And when we say yes, we're in. And when we say no, no. We can always change our minds. But we're not saying yes when we mean no. And we're not saying no when we mean yes. We're clear. And we're also able to take our energy and choose where we want to put it, what action we want to take next. We're also able to stay more present with ourselves. We stop abandoning ourselves. And that's such a huge thing for women, is we have a really deeply ingrained learned behavior of abandoning ourselves, of creating an image of this is who I should be, and then judging ourselves against that image. We're often very, very critical of ourselves. So this word, this seed word, is the beginning of our intent to reclaim our energy. A ritual is any place that we mark a transition. And healing happens when we go back through our history and name the old transitions, the places where we still feel like there's roughness, where we feel like we lost energy, where we name those places and then choose to begin to heal them so that we can be more in our intent. So example, if I want to shine in the world, I can go back and go, where are the places where I felt like I dulled my energy or I let my energy get dull? Where I didn't let myself shine. And then I can use my imagination to begin to rewire, to rewrite, to rebirth myself anew. By imagining one way to do it. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and I'll talk more about this. One way to do it is to imagine what ritual, what ceremony, what act could have happened that would have helped me feel empowered or feel supported. So it's not necessarily about changing what happened. It's about changing the system around it or the ritualizing it in a new way. So let me give you an example. Examples are always really good. So as I said, as a child, I moved a lot. And one ritual I realized would have been really helpful. And I don't say this out of blame. My parents did a great job. I had amazing parents. And it was really hard for them to move, I'm sure. And to have these two, my sister and I going, no, we're not moving, must have been really challenging. But when I thought about it, it was like, well, here's something that we could have done. Now, I understand, and I really want you guys to get this, to understand it couldn't have been different. My parents were doing the best. I was doing my best. My sister was, the family structure was doing our best with what we had. We were doing our best with what we had. And using my imagination and going back and saying, wow, what if every time we were going to move that my family came and said, okay, Dad's got another job. We have this opportunity to move, and we're all going to go do research and find out what are the exciting things about the place we're moving. And we're all going to then talk about what are the cool things about where we're moving. And then we're going to have a big party, and we're going to invite all of our friends so that we can bless them and honor them and say thank you and figure out ways that we can stay connected with them. And that we do that every time we moved as a ritual, as an honoring, a letting go, and what we're stepping towards. When I imagine that in my being, I get happy. I'm like, oh, that would have been so fun. And then I bring that feeling sense into my body as if that happened. Now, I know that didn't happen, and that's okay. What happened was perfect. It made me who I am. And there's a little bit of an energy dip. So when I go back and create a ritual, the ritual fills in the space and makes me feel, yes, excited. That then informs me about what type of a ritual or ceremony I can create for myself now when I'm in a transition. So you can do this imagining places where someone died. What ritual or ceremony might have helped you heal or understand? Divorce, transition. Okay. So to be creative. And rituals usually, there's something that we're letting go of and there's something that we're bringing in. So just be creative, and I just invite you to just open the door to beginning to play with this idea of where could I bring in an initiation ceremony for myself or a ritual that would have helped ease a transition. And to feel that in your body, in the present, to allow it to heal the past. This is a form of what the Toltec called recapitulation, gathering our energy for the past so it's more present in the future and the now, because that's where it's needed the most. So questions or comments? This is the beginning of a longer process, and I want to talk about some more opportunities to keep going deeper. So any questions or comments around this idea of creating an initiation that marks a transition from the past or bringing in a ritual or a ceremony to create a healing where there was a traumatic or difficult event in one's childhood. Any questions, comments, or shares? And I love looking at all of your intents. And what we're doing, so go ahead and share, type as I'm talking. What we're doing is getting clear about what our intent is now and using that intent as the guiding post to gather our energy from the past through initiation and healing rituals in our imagination, which is very powerful. That rewires, rewrites everything. So I really love the idea of gathering our gifts from the past to harness and build our future. Yeah, it's really potent. Because there are a lot of gifts in our past, no matter how difficult, traumatic, hard our past was. There are a lot of gifts that we can choose to go harvest. And then take that energy and bring it forward. Good. I love this. It fits so well with my Wiccan training, High Priestess. I'm creating a ritual to allow what I want to come to me. Beautiful. Great. Yeah. It's so fun to be able to take, for those of us that do a lot of ceremony, whether it's Native American or Wiccan or European shamanism or Peruvian, there's a lot of different cultures that do ritual. To take that, knowing how to create ritual to honor transition now and take it into the past with our imaginations, really powerful. And also to rewrite my story, my money story. Great. Yeah, rewrite that money story. Taking the energy and lessons from the past and using them as fuel. I love that. As fuel for where we want to go rather than as a weight. And most of us have been using our past as a weight. And we don't realize we're just trained to use it because a lot of our energy is in the past. And so we're dragging these anchors around of old stuck energy. And as we begin to free it up, it does become fuel in the moment for us to live our intent. Really, really well said. Good. So there's more yummy magic coming up. Let's start there. So 13 women. I picked 13 really powerful, very different women from different walks of life that I've been interviewing. I'm interviewing them on Skype. So it's really fun because you get to see them, you get to see me. I'm asking the same questions, 4 simple questions. And what's coming out of these women is so beautiful. So, so beautiful. So tomorrow you'll get an email that'll have the link to this broadcast, and that will also share the web page that will list all the videos of the 13 Warrior Goddess Wisdom Women. So you'll get that in your email. And this series, since it's recorded, if you have sisters that you want to invite, if you have women friends that you want to invite, you can invite them anytime. They can join anytime. There'll be a website that will have all the different interviews. I'll be launching a new interview once a week and sharing a little bit about the women and sharing some inspirational pieces every week. So get them to sign up. They don't have to have been online tonight or tomorrow in order to be part of it. They can join anytime and they'll get the benefit of these teachings. And so how do I rewrite shame that occurred as a teenager and have lived with through my life? Okay, so that's where we're going next. So we only have 5 minutes in this broadcast, and I knew that it would be this way. And that's why I've created another 2-part series. So I'll address your question in a minute, but I want to give you guys this information that I'm doing a 2-part series that's a continuation of this specific piece around initiation and healing and the question that you brought up around rewriting shame. And what we'll do is we'll go deeper over the next 2 series. They start February, I believe it's February 2nd and February 9th. So it's a couple weeks from now, so we can kind of get into the Warrior Goddess magic. And that 2-part series is Sunday or Monday, and it's $20 for both classes. So really inexpensive, really beautiful opportunity to go deeper. And I'm going to do an experiment where we're going to do part of it by webcast and part of it by phone. And the reason I'm doing that is that I can share the teaching, and then we can get on a phone line where you can ask questions and we can share. It's more intimate on the phone because we're able to hear each other's voices. So I'm going to run an experiment with us and try teaching webcast first, then we'll switch over to the phone. We're fluid as women, we can do that. And we'll be able to go a lot deeper with each other because this medium is a little bit limited with the chat. Okay? So if you want to get more information on that, I'm going to just post the link that I have right here. Boop. So that's the link to the 2-part series. If you want to join and play and go deeper with me, I would love that. Really excited to continue to build community and create more healing for women. And then shame that occurred as a teenager. When we have difficult situations in the past, sometimes it may take some time to rewire them. So what I want to invite all of us is to have patience with ourselves, to have loving compassion for ourselves, and especially to have loving compassion for that part of you that was ashamed as a teenager, because that part is still living inside of you. To start to love her, to start to share your presence with her, just to not push her away or say, I don't want to deal with you, I just want you to heal, but just to go, oh honey, I'm sorry you felt ashamed. To create a communication with her, a connection. That's not based on, oh honey, that should never have happened to you, that was terrible, that was bad, you're ruined for life. But to really hold her as I see that was scary, difficult, shaming, and we're going to heal it. And I'm here with you now. There's a way the past and the future don't exist. We can actually go back to the past and bring our more wise adult self back to our scared child or ashamed teenage self and start a dialogue that's incredibly healing. Now, that teenage self might not immediately go, yay, okay, I'm going to drop all the shame, it's all good. It might take some time. A lot of the parts of ourselves that we abandoned don't trust us. And so it takes time to reestablish the trust. I have a part of me that I call my gawky teenager, which is the part of me that whenever we moved just felt really out of sorts. And I used to really dislike that part of me. And I was being coached by a woman that I really respected, and we were talking about that part. She goes, that part of you is so endearing. It's so wonderful. It's part of who you are. Don't push her aside. And I was like, really? But I don't like that part of me. But when I went back and went into a relationship with her and just claimed, yes, there's still that feeling sense of gawky teenager, it started to shift. So I invite you to do the same thing with with that experience of feeling shamed as a teenager. And then if you have the spaciousness to do the 2-part series, we can go deeper with that, of how specifically to unwind it. But that's what it takes, patience, perseverance. Patience, perseverance. So I'm going back to another question. Does it work when someone is in a relationship, has changed, and you are holding on to the past of who they were and cannot see them in the present? Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, we have to let go of who people were too, so that we can be with them in the present. So to really get current with who people are now rather than who they were. And to respect and love them for what the choices they're making now. That's really important. To respect and love other people for the choices they're making now. Doesn't mean we have to agree with their choices. And when I say love, I just mean openness. I respect their choices. Okay? And I respect who they are now. They get to choose that. I might not like it, but I respect their choice. And then that allows me to respect my choices even when I make mistakes, even when I mess up. Then that allows me to go, okay, to be honest, I messed up. What can I do that would help shift this, that would change this, that I can learn from? Okay. So, Deidre, I choose vibrance as a feeling of sense because the transitions in my life diminish my sense of aliveness and power. I choose to create a ritual to infuse vibrance into my physical and emotional bodies and give thanks for my soul who always holds me as perfect as I am. Nice. She feels joy and excitement for me, and when I use my power to infuse my light and heal myself. Beautiful. Yeah, choice. And the parts of us that are more wounded or that it's a deeper pattern or a deeper habit, it'll take longer. It'll take longer. I dislike some choices, and they have the right to make whatever choice they like. Yeah, exactly. I don't have to like their choices, but I respect their choice because I want people to respect my choices. Even if I'm blowing it, I'm learning. And when we're open with ourselves, when we stay with ourselves, when we make a mistake, we admit the mistake, and then we go back and clean up whatever we need to clean up. And then we pull, what's the lesson? What did I learn? So that we can go forward. Yeah, and even, it's so true, even the word mistake or blowing it, those are just words. You know, we judge ourselves for them, but every time that we're doing something that maybe is not in alignment with what we would like to be doing, if we don't judge ourselves and just simply go, okay, so what did I learn? What's the experience? Then we can redirect. Here's something fun. One of my first teachers, Cara Dwyn Falling Star, who I love dearly. Cara Dwyn was an amazing teacher, and she shared that her father was a rocket scientist, and that one of the things she learned from her father was that heat-seeking missiles are off target 99.5% of the time, but they always hit their target. So I love it. Heat-seeking missiles are 99.5% off target. And why that is because they know what their target is. They know what their intent is. And then they're doing this constantly. They're adjusting. And that's what we're learning to do. And for many of us, we are way off course. And we wake up and realize, oh my gosh, I've just spent the last 5 years in a job I don't like or in a relationship that doesn't serve me. The moment we wake up, if we can then go, okay, I'm going to adjust course. What do I need to change? Then we'll start catching ourselves more quickly. Where we do ourselves a disservice is where we wake up and go, wow, I really need to make a change in how I'm talking to myself, in who I'm hanging out with, in the relationship that I'm in my self-dialogue, in how I'm punishing myself, whatever it is, internal, external. If we then keep judging ourselves and beating ourselves up, how did I get here? I can't believe I've let myself do this. I am such a bad person. We're still then sailing off target. If we can simply take a breath and say, what do I want to create? What's next? What's my next action? So that's part of what we'll also be working with in the Warrior Goddess series, this two-part series coming up February 2nd and February 9th, is to learn to redirect ourselves more quickly, without judgment. And as we heal the past, we get more able to shift in the present. It's really beautiful. You'll also be learning tremendous things from the women, the interviews. I can't wait to start sharing them with you. So we're also going to create a Facebook page, and that Facebook page will be a place that we can share. It'll be a closed group. Is that true? I don't think I can. Yeah, I think I can close it actually. So it'll be a private group that will allow us to share our experiences. And that's really, really exciting. So again, I'm going to post that about the series. If you want to go learn more about the series, boop, there it is again. There's that link. And thank you so much for the series. I know it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. And it'll be a wonderful experiment. Yes, you can make an invitation-only group on Facebook. Okay, thank you, Lori. Yeah, so then we can go deeper with each other. So tomorrow I will post the first interview. If you know women that you think would benefit from this teaching, please share it with them. I'll share do I have the Facebook link up? Let's see if I do. I don't think I do. But it's, you can go to Facebook.com, Warrior Goddess Women, and the invite's up there. So invite women to come and join the series, this free series, or if you think they would benefit from the 2-part series, bring them on. The more the merrier. There's an incredible opportunity we have as women now to help each other heal, to go beyond competitiveness, beyond fear, beyond feeling like we're not supported, to really letting ourselves be supported and feel supported. And that's my intent for this series. You get to taste all these different women, and also for the 2-part series that's coming up, Warrior Goddess. And in March, I'm starting something really exciting, so I'll just seed this now, starting a 9-month program called Warrior Goddess Training. And it's an intensive program that will rewire you from the bottom of your feet up to the top of your head and all over. It's really an incredible program. So more on that later. Enjoy the series. Enjoy all the different women. Enjoy yourself. Really thank yourself. When you get off the broadcast, thank yourself for gifting yourself this time to help heal you, to help nourish you, to fill up. You're worth it.